Good evening. I'm Janice Cotter, the gallery manager at PoMoArts. Welcome to the artist sessions. On March 16th, PoMoArts, like many arts facilities, closed to stop the spread of COVID-19. But our focus continued to be on finding ways to engage with our community of artists, supporters, and art lovers. Within 2 weeks, we had transitioned to digital exhibitions, live stream artist talks, and artist panel discussions. As we went along, virtual opening receptions, online classes, and summer camps were also added. With the news that BC is now entering phase 3 of reopening the province, PoMoArts is feeling hopeful and looking towards a bright future. So now our focus shifts to working out our reopening plan and ensuring we can safely bring you back into the Port Moody Arts Centre to enjoy our classes and exhibitions once again. It's a work in progress and it's not going to happen overnight. So for updates, please follow PoMoArts newsletters and our social media posts. This evening, I'm delighted to have Deborah Bakos, Melanie Ellery, and Tannis Hopkins from the Vancouver-based collective 13 Feet Off the Ground. 13 Feet Off the Ground is a group of 12 female artists that first came together to participate in a residency program, Graniti Murales in Sicily in the fall of 2017. Tonight, we'll look back at what 13 Feet Off the Ground and our guests have been up to and what they have planned for the future. If you have any questions for the artists, please post in the Facebook comments and we will get to them as we go along or at the end of the talk. The collective's 2018 exhibition, or 2018 PoMoArts group exhibition, From Where We Stand, followed that inaugural residency in Sicily and featured photos of the mural project, as well as paintings and installations that highlighted the diverse styles of the collective and demonstrated their commitment to art and to one another, no matter where they stand. This slide shows 6 of the 11 artists who participated in the exhibition. From Where We Stand also included an artist talk about the mural project and a tour of the exhibition. You can get a taste of it when you scroll through the digital gallery on the artist sessions page at PoMoArts.ca. I'll briefly introduce each of the artists on the panel this evening, but for more information, please see the profile pages that each artist has created on PoMoArts.ca artist directory, or their artwork on the digital gallery on the artist sessions page of the website. First is Deborah Bakos. She is a painter and a public art maker based in Vancouver. She was raised on the west coast of BC and has spent her adulthood living and working in large urban environments, including Toronto and Istanbul, Turkey. Her memory-laden work is a reflection of time spent in these gritty, energy-filled spaces. Deborah holds a Certificate of Fine Arts from Emily Carr University and a Bachelor of Education in English and Fine Arts from Simon Fraser University. She taught English and Humanities for 13 years before returning to a fine arts education and painting. Her work is informed by her love for literature and her interest in contemporary politics. Tannis Hopkins. She is an expressive, modern realism painter. She likes to explore familiar yet curious narratives in her work. Her paintings evoke different reactions, from curiosity and a sense of the surreal, to introspection and sadness, to whimsy. They are meant to start a story in the viewer's mind. Her subjects reflect the importance of protecting innocence and preserving the childlike sense of wonder while acknowledging the darkness in life. Some of Tannis's work explores and celebrates food culture, another passion of hers. She hopes to help people recognize and appreciate how much food is a part of our love of life, how it defines our cultures and brings us together. Next, Melanie Ellery. Melanie is a painter creating lively and expressive abstract artwork. After graduating from illustration at Sheridan, she worked as a graphic designer and art director in Vancouver and Toronto before fully shifting her focus to painting. Melanie is process-driven, colorful, and dynamic. She paints intuitively and spontaneously, expressing life, energy, and joy. So now on with our talk. This first slide shows all of the amazing artists, the 12 artists in 13 Feet Off the Ground Collective. And I'm going to invite Tannis Hopkins to come and talk first. Tannis.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Tannis. That was a lovely introduction. And we're very, very happy to be here representing the collective and ourselves, of course. So this group came together around the Graniti Murales residency, and many of us did not know each other beforehand. Some of us did, but it was all because of Joanne Hasty that we have her to thank for this incredible opportunity to be a sisterhood working together. So I'll take you through the group from, I guess, left to right. It's Allison Keenan in the hat, and below her, Rosemary Burden. Next to her is Angela Gulaf. Am I pronouncing that right, I hope? And myself, Tannis. And the next to me is Joanne Hasty, so she was the instigator. Then there's Melanie. And sitting next to Melanie is Sherry Jones. And of course, right above Sherry is Deb. And then next to Deb is Morgane Biot. And below her is Jen Brisson. Above Jen is Lori Papadyuk. And then finally, it's Carol McQuaid on the right. So these were the group of 11 who actually went to Graniti. And for those of you who don't know Graniti, not a big surprise. It's a very, very small town in Sicily. It's just inland from Taormina, so that would be the east coast. And this, like many small towns, is suffering from an aging population and a lot of young people leaving the town because there's not a lot of work. So, you know, it's ostensibly a dying town, like many small towns are in Europe these days. So one of the residents, well, was a former resident, he grew up there, Salvatore Romano, and his partner, Karen Mayer, decided they wanted to do something to help revitalize the village. And so they created this artist residency, Graniti Murales. And residencies, like many around the world, invite artists to come and focus for a period of time. Usually it's 2 weeks to 6 months, sometimes even a year, to come and focus on their practice and do nothing but their artwork in a location somewhere in the world. So we were invited, thanks to Joanne, all of us to go as a group of Canadian artists. Normally they would only have one artist at a time, so we were the exception. And the 11 of us traveled to Sicily together and spent October, November working there. We each got our own wall, and we each came up with an idea that came out of our existing practice, but reflected something about our new sort of experiences in Sicily. And we took a month there to do all the work. We had to present our ideas to the mayor and the city hall council. It wasn't too intimidating. Then we worked. Most murals took about, I'd say, 10 days to 2 weeks to actually physically do. And it was hard work. We were sharing scaffolding, supplies. It was mixed weather. We had rain, we had warm, we had cold. But the people were so welcoming. Everybody at their different wall location would have people walking by every day offering them food, speaking to them in Italian, of course, and saying how, nice the piece was. And, we knew what they meant, even though we couldn't quite understand them. And then ultimately, at the end of the 3 weeks of work, we had an evening where it was an inauguration of the murals, and we walked around with a large group of locals to each of the murals and talked one by one. And we brought some maple syrup with us, and we got local fresh ricotta cheese. It was just mind-blowing, and drizzled some maple syrup on it and served it in paper cups to the locals, and it was a big hit. Of course, Italians are so fixed in their food. This was a totally different taste to them. So, but it was a nice little treat for us to bring with us. And so, yeah, it was a once in a lifetime experience for all of us. And we've got this lifelong bond now out of that experience. Now this is Deb with her mural. Deb, you want to talk about your mural?
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, Janice, for hosting. We're really happy to be here. This is my sort of steps and two-sided mural on a terrace. And it was inspired by Alighiero Boetti, is an Italian artist that I really love, who's involved in the Art Povera movement, which is really about art for all and about collaborative art. And so I thought that kind of suited the spirit of the moment. And so I have an artist writing a love letter in the style of Alighiero Boetti, in this kind of block tapestry style, using contemporary colors and letters. And really it just says, I will remember you and love you forever, Graniti. So it was my way of thanking them for hosting us and for, just all the amazing new experiences we got to have as results. And I do have to, throw in that my husband did join us, and those stairs are his. I may have designed them, but he painted them, and I couldn't have, he was a big support to the group, cleaning up and, making the terraces usable after 50 years of non-use. So yeah, that was my experience, and I just sort of kind of modernized their door and added some color, and had a really great time doing it. Did I say? Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie. And I would also like to thank Janice for inviting the three of us to join you tonight for the artist sessions. We and 13 Feet Off the Ground are, very appreciative of the support you've given us over the past few years. So thank you very much. Yeah, as Tannis mentioned, it really was a once in a lifetime experience to go to this tiny little village nestled in the mountains in Sicily. And just, I know I literally pinched myself a number of times thinking, how is this really happening? How is this my life? I'm very grateful for that experience and the relationships that we've formed. My mural was on Via Archimedi. It was at the top of a hill, and you can see the cobblestone street. That street was basically wide enough for one vehicle to go by at a time. So it was a constant up and down off a ladder painting my mural between the cars having to take turns going up and down. So it was a little hair raising sometimes, but it was such a great experience. People walked up and down this hill every day and spoke in Italian, and I would say, I don't know what you're saying, but they'd just say bellissima. So my mural was based on the first week or so that we were there. We were able to go to Salvatore and Karen have some property that has olive trees, and they invited us to come and pick olives for the harvest, which to me was just, both my parents being gardeners and that sort of, farmer instinct, felt down through my heritage. it was just magical. And all around Graniti and the surrounding area, there were the prickly pear cactus growing. And it just struck me how, they were all so the same and yet very unique. And, you would see them just growing out of these cement walls and, broken down concrete spaces. And it made me realize, like the people in this little town, they have gone through so much. And, they still live a very traditional life in many ways. And yet here they are, they're all so unique and blooming where they're coming from. And I tried to do a few nods to both Canada and Sicily in the mural, using some of the little blooms as, a provincial flag or a poppy. And it was such a great experience. I don't know what, if anything, is lasting from this mural now, but it's definitely deeply in my heart and soul.
And then we come to the food lover in the group. As Janice mentioned in my little write-up, I'm also a very passionate food culture fan, and I love cooking. Cooking is also a creative outlet for me. So I'm known to paint food as a subject matter, as well as cook it and eat it. And so it was a natural opportunity for me to research the Sicilian food culture. I did some research before going, and then I went a few days early to Palermo and what's the other town? Catania, where they have big markets. Catania's got a big fish market. And Palermo had about 3 or 4 different markets, and I adore markets, as many people do. So I did some research and I planned this celebration of Sicilian food culture. And the wall I was given was kind of tucked away, hidden in a little neighborhood. The streets everywhere were very tight and windy, like you couldn't even believe a single car could get through some of them. This was one of those streets. And it was sort of dipped down a bit. It actually used to be a fish store, funnily enough. I didn't know that at the time I chose the wall, so it was sort of meant to be. But I took the traditional Sicilian cart, horse-drawn cart, which has been around for years, and they get really highly decorated. They're still used in festivities year-round there. Use that as sort of a central motif with a driver and a horse. And then just had this explosion of all these different iconic Sicilian foods and their Italian names branching out across the wall. And so it went from like the black pigs to the cuore de bue tomatoes to eggplants. They're huge in eggplants there. Blood tomatoes, swordfish, octopus, many different cheeses, these incredible goats with curly horns. So there was lots to work with. And the locals really seemed to enjoy it because, of course, they could recognize a lot of the items that I was painting. And the kids would come and watch and giggle and point. And we actually had the school kids go around, classrooms of the school kids go around one day, which was fabulous. Wonderful to see them reacting to the murals. Anyway, it was lovely. The family that owned the wall was very appreciative and fed me lunch at the end of the visit there. It was a very rewarding experience.
Thank you, Tannis. Before we move on from the murals, Carol has asked a question. She says, thank you for sharing your experience in Sicily. How long did the residency last? And did you all stay there for the same period, or was the duration of the stay optional?
I think the amount of time you stay there is optional. We were there pretty much for a month. Some people arrived a couple of days before others or a couple of days later than others. We even had some of the members' families. Some parents came and joined, partners, husbands, boyfriends came, and they were very accommodating. We stayed in residences that they have as rental residences, and also locals rental residences. And we all bunked in together, and the hosts just really made you feel at home. But I believe some of the artists that have gone there have gone for shorter periods of time, sometimes maybe only a week or 2 weeks, but we were there for a good month.
Wow. There's another question, but it actually refers to possibly projects that are coming up. So we'll leave that question for right now. And Tannis, we're going to move on to the next project. And I think you were going to talk about that one as well, the Portos residency.
Right. So Graniti was in 2017. And following that, the group definitely felt like it wanted to keep going and look for other opportunities. And in 2018, we had a couple of exhibits, including at the Port Moody Art Center, of course, from where we stand. And then we went on to last year, 2019, our member Carol, who's on the left-hand side in the white dress here. Carol's an amazing person. She's a real dynamo. She seems to always have, you know, multiple things going on that she masters them all. And she's just got a wonderful, warm, positive energy. Well, she and her husband have a residence down in San Juan del Cabo, Mexico, and she has been wanting to run art residencies and workshops out of there. And so we were sort of her guinea pigs, and she set up a residency for us. So not everybody could make it. As you can see, there were 9 of us that made it to this residency, but we went down there to Mexico to do a project called Puertas, which is Spanish for doors. And this just came out of Carol talking with some of the local art galleries. It's a very thriving art scene there in San Juan del Cabo. So we were each given a blank door. You know, when you think about a door without any doorknob, any hinges, anything, just a blank door, and had to come up with an idea to paint. It was like a mini mural. We all worked side by side around the residence. Some people moved out to a field because they were spraying paint around. But we all spent the week working together, very close knit. And at the end of the week, we had a wonderful exhibition at a local gallery called Pez Gordo Galleries. And again, had an opening and lots of locals coming. And so once again, it was a wonderful experience. Do we each want to talk about our doors?
That would be nice if each of you would address the doors. That would be, I'd like that. Deb, you're on the left, so we'll let you go first.
Okay, my photo-based piece is actually a continuation of the work from Graniti, and actually I used a photograph of a little alcove that I'd pass every day on the way to my mural as the basis for this painting, and then I painted over and altered the context, making it look like it had been, you know, someone had been there and added color, just like we did in Graniti. And the idea was to continue the journey by taking a little piece from each place that we go and bringing it to the next residency. And so that's the basis for that. And I had a lot of help from Greg, who is Carol's husband, helping me mount. The hardest part was mounting that photograph, not the painting part. So I was really appreciative of all the support we got at the residency. It was amazing. Yeah. So thanks to Graniti for the support, for the inspiration for this piece.
Melanie, you're up next then.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny looking at this now side by side. Mine also, you can see the link to the seed that was planted in Graniti. You know, I'd been to San Jose del Cabo with my husband for a vacation, and you know, we took a few road trips, and you know, I just everywhere there's cactus, and I had kind of got a little crush on cactus when I was in Sicily. And then it solidified when I was in the Baja Peninsula, because there's just, of course, there's prickly pears again, but there's all different types of cactus. So I tried to sort of, you know, carry that in, and, you know, everything there is just so colorful and lush. And so I tried to, again, bring in my love of color, and it's very fitting in that area because everything's just so bright and colorful and tropical. So yeah, that's mine.
Thank you. Tannis, do you want to talk to your door or your doors within your door?
Exactly, exactly. I still very much have a child in me, as many, I think, artists do. And I just came up with this idea of creating a series of doors within a door. So I built all these little doors out of balsa wood and made little handles out of Fimo clay and found miniature hinges. And I was trying to kind of capture some of the rustic, colorful, sort of adobe type architecture, Spanish architecture throughout Mexico. I'm fortunate enough that I've done a fair bit of travel through Mexico, and it's an incredibly vibrant culture steeped in history and superstition and all kinds of influences. So behind each of these doors, there was a painting to do with some kind of Mexican cultural experience that I'd had the opportunity to enjoy. I, for instance, did a cooking class down in Oaxaca, Mexico. So a few of the images were like a woman making cocoa by grinding the cocoa beans, and it was during the Day of the Dead, so there was the characters from the Day of the Dead and the flowers, and so it was my ode to all the wonderful cultural aspects of Mexico in a playful way. So it was an interactive piece.
I wish we could see a photo with each door open. That would have been fun. Now we're going to move on to the next project. My goodness, you guys are always so busy. And Melanie, you were going to talk about the fact that 13 Feet Off the Ground's also done some projects connected to the Harmony Arts Festival. Would you like to talk about these projects?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Janice. So in the spring of 2018, our member Sherry Jones, who's very active in the West Van art community, teaching and exhibiting there, she spoke with the Harmony Arts Festival that she'd been involved with, and also the Ambleside Dundreary Business Improvement Association, about doing a project that would coincide with opening of Harmony Arts that summer. So a few of us got together to create the design, which was created by Morgan. And I think again, not everyone could participate, but we sort of made a schedule. So we kind of divided up the hours, and it was led by Sherry and Carol. And so this mural is located just around the corner off Marine Drive on 14th. So as far as I know, again, with murals, you do them, and then life happens and they last or they don't last. But as far as I know, that mural does still exist in West Vancouver. As I say, we all kind of had a schedule, putting in different hours. I think you also will have a link on the page on Port Moody, the artist directory page, where people can watch a time lapse of this mural being created, which is pretty fun. That was created by Jen Brisson. So we also did an artist talk during the Harmony Arts Festival weekend. So it was basically a slideshow and a slideshow about the Graniti trip, and then we invited everyone to walk up and unveil this new mural that we've left for West Vancouver. So that was 2018. And then in 2019, last year, Carol McQuaid was connected with the British Properties Development, and they offered for us to do a pop-up mural. And this mural was actually done during the Harmony Arts Festival. So we were in the outdoor venue, so people could watch us create it as they were visiting and checking out all the music and art and food there. So the idea of this mural was a snapshot. It's the treetops of West Vancouver where the British properties are. And so Carol designed the mural. And again, we all sort of took turns in scheduling, but it was painted over a weekend. So that was really fun to do. And, you know, nice for us. It's always nice for us to get together, no matter how many of us can participate and for how long. It's just, you know, it keeps us connected in our sisterhood, and it's always fun. We always have a great time together.
That's one of the things I love about 13 feet off the ground, is that you don't turn down a project because everyone can't participate. Some of them it's everyone, some of them it's a smaller group. And I think that's a wonderful way to work the collective. On the note of the videos, I put a link on the digital gallery on the Artist Sessions page. I put a link in it to the 13 feet off the ground website, and all of Jen Breezen's videos are there, including the Graniti video and the Harmony Arts Festival. And there's a third one that has slipped my mind. I can't remember which one it is right now.
The Portas.
Oh, that Portas.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we really want to make a shout out to Jen Breezen. She is like the, you know, filmmaker extraordinaire of our group. Like, you know, these, I ended up watching them again yesterday when I was sending you the links, and I get choked up and teary when I watch these videos that she's done for us. I mean, she just does such a great job with, you know, everyone kind of tries to like add their own video that they've done as we go along in these projects. And then Jen takes all of that, which just must be crazy, and, you know, hones it down, puts this beautiful music to it. And honestly, like it really gets me every time. So I hope everyone has a chance to go onto the website and check those videos out by Jen. They're really wonderful.
Well, and I believe at the when we had the exhibition in Port Moody Arts Center 2 summers ago, the Graniti video was playing on an iPad that people could watch it and listen to it when they came to see the exhibition as well. So even if they couldn't see the artist talk, they were able to find out more about that. So that was really nice too. So we will move on to the next project. Let's see if I can get this going right. There we go. Deb, I believe you are up to talk about the Penticton Art Gallery mural.
Okay, this is our latest mural, and this whole Penticton connection is kind of testament to the spirit that we have. It's kind of like our creative flow, because it all started with a project kind of gone wrong. We arrived, 6 of us, to paint initially murals for a commercial space in Penticton. And the day we got there, we learned that it actually, it was structurally unsound. So it ended up kind of being a meeting at Carol. You can see her in the front at her Apex resort in our pajamas, talking about future plans and maybe what we could do, you know, to change direction. And we ended up not long after that meeting with the curator for the Penticton Art Gallery and talking to him about painting this mural, which we did in the following November. So this was, this whole thing started with a kind of like brainstorming ideas. Again, you'll hear Carol's name because she's like our spirit leader, and she often provides the venue. So yeah, that's really what this was they had 6 panels and we had 6 artists in, we divided the space up, and everybody was supposed to do an introduction to themselves as an artist, as an introduction to us eventually having a show in the gallery itself. So they, with the help of, oh my gosh, again, Greg's team, that's Carol's husband, they totally redid the face of this beautiful billboard they had out there. And we went to work in November in our gloves, frozen, and took a few days. And these represent each one of the artists. There's Sherry's on the left with the photographs. She's kind of a realist painter, but also has this impressionist style. And Lori's her very recognizable achromatic black and white work, butterfly form there. And Carol's is the life of an adventure, as always. You can see her bright colors. Mine is, you know, tied to my textile projects. Mine's in the middle with holding up a cloth, tied to some of the information that I'm trying to wrestle with around gender politics. And beside me, a very whimsical piece is the Alison Keenan's flamingo, and marching towards, this is Angela Gulaev's very bright, very beautiful, cuddly animals that she always paints. I don't know if you noticed, but they're all the same palette, and that's the way we tried to tie it together for this project, is because our work's so diverse, as you can see. This is not one big piece, but several little. So in this case, we agreed on similar palettes, and this is really, we've got so much feedback from people. I've had messages on Facebook saying, I saw your mural at Penticton Art Gallery and it speaks to me, or Carol, somebody talked to me about Carol's mural that I met at the Culture Crawl. So as an intro, it's working. And I guess the idea is that we have this connection with Penticton Art Gallery, and we want to keep that going. They are supported us in a way that the curator for the art gallery went for lunch with us, talked to us about our future plans, and agreed that we, you know, after a period of a year traveling together, could show the work that we did over that year. And that the year is supposed to be this year. So, you know, we're supposed to leave in September of this year. Of course, our plans have shifted a bit. We were going to do a cross-country Canada trip in RVs, all of us. This was a very big plan, and go to remote communities. And it was going to be 13 feet across Canada and connect with artists across Canada. But I think our idea, we don't know yet, we're fleshing it out, but I think we're going to just geographically shrink that and maybe focus on BC, because it is our anniversary coming up, our 150th anniversary. And part of the program for Paul Crawford, the curator, is to focus on some of the, you know, BC issues. So it's a work in progress, and it's had many shifts and changes, but we're there, we're present, and we have our connection, and we're moving forward with that. Great.
Thanks, Deb. I also wanted to just point out that Lori's piece in here, in this particular one, her mural, reminded me that she was the first live stream artist talk we did. She had a solo exhibition here that started March 5th and then unfortunately closed March 16th. So we live streamed before we took the exhibition down. We live streamed an artist talk from the space. So it was Lori that was our guinea pig for doing live stream artist talks. So many thanks to Lori. We have so many 13 feet off the ground artists that with close connections here. And I always appreciate that. So now I'm going to just go to the gallery mode and switch to talking a bit to each artist. Deb, had you completed talking about the project for the Penticton Art Gallery? Like what's happening with that now that we're in the middle of the pandemic? And
well, that
are
was
there
the
any
topic for our regular kind of meetings, which we've been doing. We've been staying connected through Zoom, and that's what's on the agenda right now. One of the things that's on the agenda is how to restructure this plan, and maybe just talk about how our own work has changed and what directions we want to go and how we can connect all that for a show. So it's definitely a project in the works, but we're getting a kind of slow start. But I think that's sort of the next thing. I don't know if Tannis and Mel can speak to that more, but that's the feeling I got from our last meeting. So I think maybe we're still excited. We're always excited, and we always have a way to move around and problem solve, and something always comes up. I don't know. So yeah, so that's all I can say. Maybe the others can speak to it when they're talking about their work.
Okay, well, we'll move on to Melanie, you unmuted. Were you going to speak to that?
I actually, because when Deb was talking about us staying connected, I did want to just say, in some ways with the whole pandemic, we've actually been able to stay connected very well, considering we're all geographically spaced out. And whenever we try to actually physically get together, as you can imagine, with like 12 busy women, it's kind of like herding cats. So we've been meeting on Zoom, and it's just, for me personally, I want to just thank all of the members in our group, because it's been kind of tough. I've had kind of a tough time for some of this global pandemic, shutdown, lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to term it. And they've really had my back. And it's just been so great to know that even if we all have our own things going on in separate places, we can, check in with each other, and the support that I feel from them is just immeasurable. It makes all the difference. So I just wanted to add that that's really been a very good point, a high point for me too during everything is just being connected with all the ladies in our group. So yeah.
Now, Melanie, I know that you obviously moved out to Port Moody a few years ago, and you've recently got a new studio in Esplanade Studios. So how are things going with you? I mean, you've had, I know it's been rough for you. Are you able to be producing? Are you moved into your new studio? How are things going on that side?
Yeah, in some ways I feel like the universe was providing me everything that I had been asking for and putting out there, and even some things that I didn't know that I needed. So yes, we've been in Port Moody now, my husband and I, for over 3 years. And I looked for a studio that entire time. And just around January, I found out about an opening coming up here. So I jumped on that, and yeah, I'm happy. It's a great space. It's also been kind of strange though, moving in here, because it was right around the time that everything was shutting down. There are some other artists that work regularly in here, but everyone is kind of behind their closed door, and we have protocols. The city of Port Moody, as you know, is the landlord of Esplanade Studios. So, we are not allowed to have visitors, and there's protocols about just washing your hands when you come in and leaving, and, keeping distance, that's great. I'm very up for that. As far as getting settled, I've got my things moved in. As far as getting settled in mentally, I've been finding pandemic isn't conducive for creativity for me. Yeah, my work is typically very colorful and bold, and I don't know, if I'm going to be honest with everyone, it's been tough for me to want to create any body of new work. So I've actually been doing some online courses. I've been kind of stepping back and kind of revisiting the basics of design principles and just playing around on little panels. You might be able to see them behind me there. And yeah, I feel like when it's time, it'll be time, and who knows what will come out when it does come out. So a long answer to your question, I am coming into the studio, but if you could say, I'm not doing my typical work, but I am pushing the paint around and trying out some new tools and techniques. So it's all good. It's all useful time. And, I think artists are very sensitive when things are happening in the world, and there's so many things happening in the world. It's overwhelming, and it's a lot to process. So I admire the ones that are like moving through it and still able to be producing. But I know that it's with creativity, you can't push it, and you have to just wait till the time is right. So yeah.
And taking time to review things is never a bad thing anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melanie. Now we'll move on to maybe Tannis and talk to her. Tannis, can you unmute? And how are things going with you during this time?
Well, continuing on from what Melanie has said, it's been a very disruptive time. And I think artists operate in different ways. It's personal work. Some people can kind of just focus and just do it. Others are like sponges, and everything that's going on around them affects them. So I think Melanie's one of those people, and I count myself one of those as well. I came through a very disruptive year last year and had to put my art on the back burner. And was sort of thinking, okay, this year I'm going to start ramping back up again, and I'm doing it, and here comes the pandemic. So, you can't choose your times necessarily. So for me, it's also been a bit hit and miss. At times I've questioned the value of my artwork relative to other things that are going on. But at the same time, I've also been getting inspirations. I'm noticing I'm more inclined to do work with single figures in it. I've been doing, as you can see, some of these pieces on the wall behind me, a lot of figure work, and not surprisingly, isolated figure work, which I was already doing. I guess loneliness is definitely a theme that pops up in my work. And so I am getting inspired by it at the same time, even though it's been disruptive. And, unfortunately, some of the opportunities we would normally have to exhibit, as you know, Janice, have gone away, or at least had to change. Things like the East Side Culture Crawl. I'm in a large studio building, as is Deb. We're in a building called 1000 Parker Street. It's a huge old warehouse building full of artists. And during the East Side Culture Crawl, you'll get thousands of people coming through. You can barely move. Well, obviously that's not going to be able to happen this year. And I know the organizers are trying to figure out if they can do some kind of online digital version instead, but it's a pretty major undertaking. So I haven't heard anything recently from them. For the same token, the Parker Art Salon, which is another smaller event, but dedicated to 1000 Parker Street, similar idea, lots of the public coming through, open studios, has been postponed to next year. So we, artists are good working towards deadlines, as is anybody, and we're sort of losing some of our deadlines, which are motivations as well.
I can definitely relate to losing deadlines. The East Side Culture Crawl and the Parker Art Salon are two of my favorite events throughout the year, but it definitely, and I'm sure Deb can speak to this, there is no way you could do them socially distanced. It just won't happen. And that, I guess that's something that we'll be looking to in the future. I know with considering exhibitions, I mean, to have artwork in the gallery is one thing, but we certainly won't be doing the huge opening receptions. And so it may be kind of a hybrid thing that we look at doing in our gallery anyway, artwork on the wall, but a lot of the other things online still. So, oh well. So did you touch on everything that you wanted to, just about what's you've been working, keeping in touch with 13 Feet Off the Ground? You've been working with the group on the Parker Art Salon and the Culture Crawl, or at least keeping in touch with what their activities are. So are there other things that you were planning to do, or just sort of taking this time to be more laid back?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, because last year was a bit of a non-year artistically for me, it's building back up again. So I hadn't planned anything else yet. And of course, a lot of planning is put on hold. I think the same for a lot of artists. Probably, I think a lot of artists are focusing more on how they can promote themselves online at this time, because that may become the new normal. I mean, galleries may exist, brick and mortar galleries may not exist for months to come. Who knows? We hope that's not the case. We hope that the Port Moody Art Center opens soon.
Well, I think it's different. There are galleries where they're an isolated, pardon me, I don't mean isolated space, but they're a separate entity, and you only need to go in there to see the artwork. And our space, you have to walk through our gallery to get to anywhere else in the building to take a class, or get to your music class or your art class. So we really, our reopening plan is just a little more complicated. It's not like we can let people into the gallery a few at a time and they won't be interrupted by other people. So we really are working on comprehensive plans for this, and very excited that, even the thought of doing a hybrid show is very exciting right now. Anyhow, thank you so much, Tannis. Deb, let's go back to you and see, now I'm really curious about a project that I first saw that you were working on at the Culture Crawl last year, and which I believe is called She Threads. And I wanted to hear, are you wanting to speak to that yet, or is it too early to talk about that project?
Oh, no, I mean, actually, it's probably good timing, because it's kind of what I resorted to. I kind of, like everybody else is talking about, went inward, being more introspective, thinking about what I'm, actually questioning things, asking myself what it is I'm actually paying attention to. And I have to admit, I'm a bit of a media hound. I watch all the politics. I'm, really, I like to hear all this information, but it is overwhelming, and it's been incredibly overwhelming. So I feel like I shuttered myself in my home little studio on the 4th floor in my house that I now share. But at the time I had 2 weeks to, just listen to what was going on. And I ended up just more and more recording. That's what my project is, basically, is recording what women say. And the reason I do that is to help me find positive ways, or at least ways that resonate with me, things that women say that resonate with me, and put it out there for more people to see. But it's a humble project. I mean, I don't know if you can see these little pieces up here. They're hanging above the painting, but they're just bespoke linen. I have to find everything. A lot of the stuff was donated to me, the thread, and I just, not in any fancy way, but just record line by line what women say, in a way of kind of honoring what they've said, but also maybe passing the information on that I find relevant, but it's been like a diary of what am I paying attention to? And so I've gone from very, what my other work is about is probably, gender politics, mostly the way women are portrayed, or just to open up the discussion. And I usually use humor, like this kind of work where I'll maybe remove the heads off some of the men, or, approach it with a softer, funny way. But there's nothing really funny about what's going on anymore. So I really was like, I can't really do this right now. And so I started, I think I'm at 90 now, but I did start it at the Culture Crawl, just as an experiment to go, what do people think about this? Because it's like, I'm used to doing big scale, abstract work that's gestural abstraction, or this kind of photo-based work. And I just thought, here's just a bunch of like 15 raw pieces of fabric with really bad embroidery on them, but people did respond. And I sort of did a little experiment and asked them to contribute their own things. Like, is any woman ever said anything to you that you remember that you or heard that you think is funny enough to repeat, or, poignant enough, or a clap back that you wanted to say to somebody and didn't? And it was kind of divisive, a little bit of, smack talking kind of thing. But then it got a little bit more serious. I started following American politics. There's a Tiny Pricks project that, I love that name, that basically is embroideries that are what Donald Trump says. And that's really the inspiration for this. And it's ongoing. So I think, I will have, I was hoping to have enough to fill my I have a 30-foot wall in the studio by 10, and just see what that looks like and see what that means, and just arrange it and, keep getting donations. So here's my plug. You can follow me on, it's called the She Thread Project. It's on Instagram. It used to be the He Said, She Said, which, even in the title is kind of like a little divisive, and it really morphed into something a little bit more, for me, a little bit more meaningful. So, so that's online, and I'm still doing this work. I have work here in the studio, and I'm doing large abstractions, but the titles are things like The Deep End, or my last one was Rock Bottom, and things like that. So these emotional responses are coming out. A lot less work I've done, I would say, because most of it's like just like this. It's not big profound pieces really, but it's meaningful. And I think that's really what a lot of us have done, is just dig deep and go, what really matters? This is kind of like an existential thing going on, and however we handle it, is the right way, because this is new to everybody. So, I applaud anybody who's thinking about it, whatever you're doing. I think it's the right way right now for artists. So, yeah.
Well, and I think having the smaller embroidery projects, you can pretty much take them with you. If you're at home, you can be doing those without taking over the whole house, and save the big pieces for the studio.
Well, I don't have a home studio much. My daughter and her best friend, who are both fourth-year fine arts students, are living with us. And so they've taken over the studio. So I'm basically have had to move all my textile stuff here. And I share this studio too. So, we've just got off the planning, where we scheduled time slots. Now we can all be here together. It's a big studio, but, I've even shifted place, right? So everything gets sort of just, changed around, but it's bittersweet, and there's some positives that have come out of it, for sure. So all this information coming to light, and all this, I just feel like everything's erupting. Hopefully we find some answers soon. So,
yeah, I think that's what we're all hoping for. So right now, you spoke about some positives coming up out of it. I'm going to go back to Tannis and Melanie, and you can decide which one wants to speak first. But just to say, have there been any silver linings in having this physically distanced time and not having a lot of outside pressure from our normal day-to-day life? Have you found that? Have there been any silver linings for you? Any positives that come out of this? Tannis, do you want to go first? You can, yeah.
Well, I think obviously for everybody, not just artists, for everybody, this has been a really interesting time in terms of looking inward. And most of us have been staying pretty close to home. And you really begin to appreciate the things you have. You know, we're always so busy looking, you know, for the next opportunity and racing from between A and B and trying to get this meeting met and this project done, and having time to actually sit and go, we have a backyard. You know, some of us are lucky enough to have a backyard. It's really, I think, teaching us some lessons that can't help but feed back into our artwork, I think. I mean, for me, it's definitely focusing more and more on human connection is going to be a factor in my work moving forward. And an interesting little side note, you know, with all the artists online, I think supporting each other, like many people out there are doing things, good deeds to help each other out. There was an artist in the UK, Matthew Burrows is his name, and he started a project called the Artist Support Pledge on Instagram. So if you look up the hashtag Artist Support Pledge, all one, he started this initiative where artists are posting small pieces on Instagram for £200 or less, or in North America, $200 or less. And it has gone globally now. And they are selling these artworks, these very affordable, accessible artworks, but he's encouraging artists to actually take part too, so that when you've sold £1,000 or $1,000 worth, i.e. 5 pieces, then you turn around and pay it forward by buying another artist's piece of work. And I just thought, what a lovely thing. I mean, it's, you know, it's helping reinforce that connection and that sense of being a part of a greater, you know, soulful thing that's happening out there. And I just thought it was an interesting.
I actually have seen artists post that pledge on their Instagram pages. And I think that's a really nice thing too, that if you sell your work, then a portion of it you contribute to purchasing another artist's work. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Melanie, how about you? Have you found any, I mean, this whole thing, there's so many horrible things about everything that's gone on in the last few months. But have you found any positives or silver linings?
Well, I just want to reiterate what Tannis said about the artist pledge, because that's amazing. Like, I mean, it's those wonderful little nuggets that end up, like, you know, growing exponentially, and you know, you do feel like you do have a community, even though it's a very solitary endeavor that we're all participating in here being artists. It's really great to know that there are other people out there and, you know, reaching out and trying to help each other. If I get, I'm not sure what else I'm thinking other than just like very like personally, for me, the silver lining has been on March the 6th, my husband and I got a puppy. And at the time, we were like, what are we doing? Like, you know, I was about to move my studio, and he's, you know, going back on he's in the film business and he's going back on a show. And we were just like, had all this stuff going on, thought we were being crazy. And then a week later, I was like, oh, I guess we have time for a puppy. And honestly, like, it has been really tough personally. I had a family member who had COVID back east. So that really early on kind of brought it home to me, like how serious it was. And, it really affected a lot for me. And I also lost a very dear friend recently. And so it's really made me realize, like, maybe this isn't a silver lining, but one thing that it's made me realize is, like, we should never take anything for granted. I mean, all these things that we never gave a second thought to, like, you know, booking a flight to go and see someone who's far away, or even just giving someone a hug who, you know, has just lost someone close to them. It really, really, really is a time for everyone to just kind of, I feel like we're kind of, you know, in a snow globe and somebody's just shaking it up really crazy, and, you know, everything is still kind of moving around. But I do feel like things are starting to settle down as our province is doing a good job opening up. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's given us all time to, even those who don't consider themselves artists, time to create. I know a lot of people have turned to very domestic things, baking, cooking, like gardening. All these things are creative. And, you know, I have so many people that will say to me, oh, you're so lucky you're an artist. You know, I'm not creative at all. And I think, yes, everybody has their thing. So it's given people time to explore it. So I think maybe that's the silver lining, if I can, you know, put one out there for everyone.
No, I think that's absolutely true. And on that note, talking about hugs, Irene Bennett has sent you all virtual hugs.
Oh,
Um, and there's you should go and check some of the comments afterwards on Facebook. There's some lovely comments. And the other question that I was referring to was Cassandra, and she said, is there any potential for this collective to engage in a mural project like this locally? And I didn't ask it earlier because I knew that you would be talking about the Harmony Arts projects and other things coming up. So so Cassandra, I hope that answers your question. And these ladies are always working on finding new projects. So actually, I think, oh, Tannis is going to mention something.
Just want to say, funnily enough, literally, we're just going to be talking the next few days about whether we want to put in an application for the Vancouver Mural Fest this year as a collective, because they're only putting it out to BC artists this year, obviously for, you know, travel reasons. So we may be trying to do that, which would happen later in the summer, August, usually August, September.
Wow. So then we'll have to follow 13 Feet Off the Ground on all the artists on your social media platforms to see if this mural project comes about. So I guess that really does answer Cassandra's question then. Well, ladies, does anyone have any last comments that they wanted to make? Then I think we've gone over a bit, but it was so interesting talking to you all. And I'm just going to share this last screen that is just, it's got our website on it. So once again, you can see the digital gallery on the Artist Sessions page at PoMoArts.ca. And each of the artists has created a lovely artist profile on our artist directory. And an artist directory, on our artist directory, having a profile is also one of the benefits of membership at PoMoArts. We're a nonprofit society. So thank you very much for coming again. We will be back with the artist sessions on July 9th, and we will see you then. Thank you very much and good evening.